Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, no slaves, peasants, vassals, dirty bombers. I'm a useful idiot, and today I want to talk about the entire story about chemical weapons in Syria has completely unraveled. And as one would suspect, all the stories that are coming out now are not getting too many headlines and are tucked away on back pages and alternative news about how it has been completely verified now that there is no verification of chemical weapons being used by the Assad government in Syria anywhere, and that, in fact, all the evidence and what little evidence there is points to the use of chemical weapons by the opposition, the rebels, who had all the motivation and all the access to these types of weapons, particularly the fact we have these primitive weapons that were used as well, and they've known that all along. So a couple things about this. First of all, the fact that last December there were revisions to the UN report, and the UN report changed to 0 chemical agents found at one site, as well as backing off a claim that there's degraded sarin gas at another site. And there was doubts about the range and flight path of these projectiles, and the trajectories were very unlikely from the beginning. And they even pointed out back then that these were crudely made missiles. And it seems to me that if the Assad Syrian government and the Assad government in Syria was using chemical weapons, they would be pretty much weapons grade, industrial grade. And these were crudely made. And there was one attack that did use gas, and the inspector said that, quote, collected credible information that corroborates the allegations that chemical weapons were used by the rebels on multiple occasions and multiple sites, unquote. So there's the UN revisions last December. And so there goes all claims that the Assad government, so all this charade and getting the Assad government to give up their chemical weapons, which certainly is an effort to be lauded, an achievement to be lauded. But the fact that the United States nearly went into another hornet's nest of a war over fabricated evidence is the disturbing fact about this. And now we have January 14th, just last week, a new UN report, and they were talking about these rockets could only go 2 miles at the very best. And so they said, quote, a study of the rocket's design, its likely payload, and its possible trajectory showed that it would have been impossible for the rocket to have been fired from inside areas controlled by Assad, unquote. And so, in essence, the administration narrative was not even close to reality. And we knew that all along. That's one of the advantages we have of the spread of information now in the blogosphere, is the fact that these things can be seen through and the information spread rapidly. So my hat's off to all the bloggers, including myself, who point out all along that there's no evidence that chemical weapons are being used by Assad government. There was evidence to show that the rebels were using chemical weapons, and this was a false flag event, and that it was being used by Obama the same way that Bush used threats of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq to justify that invasion. And so no real mud on Obama, I suppose, because all presidents do this, use false flag events and trumped up evidence to get America involved in these conflicts. So Obama is just part of this continuous historical narrative in the United States. But somebody who deserves to have mud on their face, of course, is John Kerry, because his insistence that U.S. satellite images had shown the impact points of the chemical weapons, which is ridiculous at best. And so he looks like a chump, which he is. So the fact is these small, crudely made missiles with barely traces of chemical weapons would have not shown up on any sort of satellite image whatsoever. So now we have in Syria this new peace plan, and the U.S., of course, is pushing for a transitional government that won't include Assad. And I just find this fascinating that we were on the brink of war. Several European powers in the United States were on the very brink of war in Syria over trumped up evidence. And the more one looks at the evidence, it was pretty trivial from the beginning, but now it's even more pathetic. Now here, quietly, the whole story becomes disassembled and only leaves a trail of tattered lies, as usual. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.